So I do a lot of work around the world of agroecology as well as ecological economics, and like there's a basic statement that we can make that undergirds a lot of people's relationship with agriculture, and one of them is two parts of it. Complex is better than simple, and that simple isn't simple. And that's just sort of the fundamental idea that goes behind agroecology, basically that agricultural systems have high returns to structural complexity, and that they're also, even when they're simple, they're more complex than we can think about them as. And basically we could say that 1 over here is better than 2 over there. That's a soybean field in an agroforestry system. But then when we get to like policy tools and way to understand it, we run into some problems. So if we're going to use, for instance, mandates and regulations, well, this is harder to describe than that, so it's harder to sort of regulate doing that than doing the one on the left. If we are going to do outcome-based, well, this is a lot larger, so it's a lot easier to monitor, say, water pollution coming from one big farm that has 100,000 acres versus 100,000 small farms that have 1 acre. If we're going to do it model-based, the system on the left is easier to model than the system on the right. And if we're going to do sort of conventional R&D, which is a great policy for agriculture, it's also just sort of harder to understand what works and why it works on the right than it is on the left. And basically, in sum, the system on the left is much more bureaucratically legible, in the words of James Scott, than the system on the right. And it means that a lot of the policy tools that we might want to use to promote a more sustainable agriculture just sort of don't fit for the types of systems that we might want in the ecozoic. And that's sort of one way to thinking about that is that the system on the right is based on relationship, and just bureaucracy doesn't do relationship. So there might be some there's some easy ways or easy edge cases where we can have some simpler policy prescriptions, such as where people have really strong, long-lasting relationships with the land, which includes but is not limited to indigenous communities. We want to keep those in place to maintain those relationships, but when we get to places like North America, we have a lot of things to work out in how to do policy. So thanks.